Wells only and his guests are not responsible for any losses you may accrue for having weekends. Where the haters at? Y'all bitches still ain't showed up. And now, right, we got Hex, flawless uptime. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart.
This is Wales only. Glad you guys can make it out. I'm making some claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there, so don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're gonna pay the consequences for that, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boom. We're obliterating everybody, literally. There is nobody else that comes close to what Hex has done. Boom. Oh, it's about to get funky. Funkier than you could have ever imagined. You know, Richard Hart is a boss. Hex is literally the best thing on the planet. It's simple mathematics. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the secret. The Godwell told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. These motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. Man, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all's deep. Everybody. My God. Ex-Asians, bro. Everybody. Australians, man. Everybody gets me. Yo, when is it told you? Dollar told you. Everybody done told you. It's crazy. Welcome back, folks. It's been so long, I forgot how to even add myself to the stream. You know, all that good stuff. I hope everybody's having a fantastic Sunday. Man, life is fun, man. Life is fun. I hope everybody's spiritually sound, doing all right. It's been about 45 days since I streamed last. And, you know, I'm a fan of Call of the Turns. What can I say? That's like that's like my thing. And right now, I'm not so sure that we're about to see a turn again. What I do know for sure is that things have turned, and not in the way that people expected, and myself included, of course. And I said it the day it happened. But, you know, like I reported on the day of, I had to chew on it, synthesize the information, try to ascertain what in the hell is going on. Because I tell you guys what, I know how to spot the trouble, but, you know, the whole thing about it is, and I don't mean to ignore you guys in the chat. Just give me a second to get this out, because this really, it's just odd, you know. And I just want you guys to understand that I'm really gonna focus on that today, and we are gonna dive into what it is that these people could be seeing that maybe we are not seeing. And the reason I state that is because, you know, why the hell would they agree with anything we have to say, or anything that we see? And them pivoting in such a fashion like they did this week on Wednesday. You know, I've never seen anything like that. That's like them admitting crypto won. That's like them admitting complete defeat. But that never happens. So there's something else afoot. And, we got to try to figure out what it is, right? It's very easy to get misled with half of the information. And this is something that, unfortunately, humans are really good at. And, we all pretty much are born into the game of operating on the basis of knowing nothing and with confidence, right? And the more confidence you seem to have, the more people seem to believe you, which is funny because them be the dumbest motherfuckers, right? Because, and yo, we all do it. So it's not like anybody is absolved from that, right? Now let's get the social crap out the way because it just needs to be discussed. Now, as you guys know, we all come to this crypto thing with one thing and one thing in mind, and that is to find financial freedom. And I'm literally skipping over the legacy part because the majority of the people that end up in crypto peruse or stroll through legacy finance, and they might or might not find some success there. But it really is neither here nor there because ultimately financial freedom can be attained in numerous ways, right? And the topic of discussion in this facade, in this facet of our financial spectrum, is cryptocurrency. Now, this is about to be very important what I'm about to say, so please pay attention. Cryptocurrency is unlike anything else in the sense that it is the only asset class where in this near future, well, excuse me, as of today, really 20 years ago, you can only own this. And I don't think people really appreciate what that means because they literally cannot own anything and they don't know it. They just think that they can. And, it's like I say all the time. We're out here looking for financial freedom and everybody's definition is different. You know, um, a 9 to 5 is a 9 to 5 is a 9 to 5. Whether you still work a 9 to 5 or not and have financial freedom, that's something that people can't wrap their heads around. Why is that guy still working if he's financially free? It's a lot of things you're not meant to understand, especially with regards to what's actually going on in this world because people have very little interest in what's really going on. And if you watch me on the stream with Johnny Chaos and Westcott, I made a very obvious proof and point of that. Because here we have people pretending to give a fuck when they don't. And it's evident every single day that we wake up and pretend that nothing else is happening except this one specific nexus of crypto, where people don't even know what cryptocurrency is. And that's evident in how people behave within the so-called community. Now, the people that end up in crypto typically end up here because they're trying to find that fast cash. But what they end up discovering is that there's no such thing in most cases because it's hard to generate returns when you don't actually understand what that entails. A lot of people get lucky, and that's what we see in crypto a lot of, right? I mean, if you look at any of the main influencers, the people that are popular that all the circle jerk cocksuckers within the shantytown want to push our products toward, knowing it actually yields no value. Those individuals are followed by other individuals that are not learning anything and literally have no interest in learning. So presenting them with gold doesn't let them know that it's gold because they're too dumb to see that it's gold. And I don't know why that's not obvious to people pretending to be smart, but that's something you might want to write down. Because if it was that easy, then a simple ad would necessitate all everyone's dreams, but that's literally not what is going on here. It's literally not. This whole notion of thinking you can onboard somebody with an ad, it's fucking ludicrous. And I've made this comment before. It's cool to garner attention, but that's where it ends because there's a whole lot more involved. Tons more involved. We're talking about your ability to survive at your own behest, not on somebody else's fucking whim. And this is why I know nobody gives a fuck about freedom, because nobody gives a fuck about that. So you could pretend to talk about whatever the fuck you want on the internet, because whether it's Twitter, Facebook, go fuck yourself, whatever, you're lying. And how do we know you're lying? Well, it's really fucking simple. When you change your tune every other fucking week, you're fucking lying. No analysis required. That's about where it ends. So, if the shoe fits and you're a bitch ass motherfucker, wear it, because nobody cares. Nobody cares but you. That's why you're the only one that's hurt. Nobody else gives a flying fuck. So much so that nobody even knows what you're crying about. We're literally just telling you to shut the fuck up because we're tired of you crying. I think it's rather funny that I consistently see people saying, if I was an outsider, I would not want to engage the Hex community. But what the fuck do all these outsider cocksucking motherfuckers do? Look to engage us, you dumb motherfucker. So why don't you shut your fucking ass up and go learn something? Because at the end of the day, the mind games only work on the buffoons that follow you in the first place. They don't actually work. And it's just really annoying to see your trash popping up on my feed. So just shut the fuck up, say nothing, and keep doing what you're doing because nobody gives a fuck. At the end of the day, Hexicans are going to continue to hex on, and you're just passing on by. Only the buffoons pay attention to buffoons. And the sooner people respect that fact, the sooner they'll start not wasting their time because nobody cares. In crypto, you click buy, you click sell. It doesn't matter what somebody else says or does or thinks. What matters is what you think, what you say, what you do, and why you do it. So why is it that we have all these random cocksuckers thinking that their opinion matters when it literally does not? I mean, all we see day in and day out from, reliable sources, not motherfuckers' opinion, that the so-called regulators have no clue what to do. And the fact, they let you know that they can't do anything. But what do we see? What do we see? Well, let me tell you. What we see is a bunch of dumb motherfuckers online applauding like monkeys at Coinbase asking for regulation. This is what we see. So if you don't understand who the enemy is, then you're due to succumb to their stupidity. And that's by you being stupid because you don't comprehend the game that you're playing in. I mean, I don't know if people remember, specifically you dumb motherfuckers that love showing your face on the internet. Last year, people were washing up on shores on Puerto Rico because they wanted to taunt and flaunt their wealth that, guess what, only they have access to. And these people are no longer alive to tell a tale. I don't know if you understand what operational security is, but your dumbass might want to look into that. Because guess what? The real world doesn't give a fuck what you're doing. You're either a target or you're not. And that's all dependent on you and who you fuck with. Because that determines the circles you end up in. So if you think character doesn't matter, well, you keep riding that wave and see how fucking far you go. Because you see, I call it as it is, not as I feel. Because my feelings don't fucking matter. Just like your feelings don't fucking matter. Very simple. Very, very simple. Because when you look outside, what do you see? A bunch of motherfuckers doing what they want. So guess what I'm going to do? What the fuck I want to do. And guess what you should be doing? The same fucking thing. Funny, right? Because that's not what we end up seeing. And that shit is rather crazy. Because when you sit here and break down all the shit people spend their days talking about on Twitter, you'd swear. Give me a second here, guys. You'd swear we got a whole bunch of whales out in these motherfucking Twitter streets talking about freedom and, human rights and, all that positive for humanity stuff that I'm consistently talking about and bitching about that nobody gives a fuck about. I don't see that though. And I know for a fact nobody else does either. Because what do we see? A bunch of lying, conniving, money-hungry, greedy, cock-sucking motherfuckers that can't figure it out. At least that's what it looks like on Twitter. I don't know. You tell me. That's what I see. Because at the end of the day, who's benefiting from all these non-crypto cryptos? Who is actually benefiting? And that's something that nobody has an answer for magically. Because it's not the people buying this shit after it done launched. That's a fact. All right. So, back in the day, now, and of course, this was pre-PLS, right? Pre-PLS. Pre-post chain. If you talked about a shit coin, you got fucking skull drug. And rightfully so. Nowadays, that shit is applauded, apparently. Now, like I was saying a few minutes ago, I don't know and I don't give a fuck because that's your problem, your pocket. You know what I'm saying? If you don't understand what the fuck is going on, don't worry. The world is going to fucking show you because that's how it works. I remember when the SEC came a knocking, a whole lot of motherfuckers puckered up that asshole real quick because they didn't know what the fuck to do. Yeah, I remember that. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people pretend that they know a lot of shit. But guess what? They don't fucking know anything. I mean, here we are, literally 4.5 months later, still talking about nothing with regards to that. And that was laid out literally the week of. And even with all of the evidence that's consistently coming out, people still pretend like they don't fucking know what's going on. So if you're in that camp that pretends all the time, wear the shoe and wear it well. Because everybody knows you're a dumb fuck. Because it's obvious. When you pretend around adults like you're fucking a toddler or something, people know. I don't know if people know this, but yeah, we be knowing. And you want to know how I know? Because at work now, I ain't even talking about online, motherfucker. I'm talking about at work. Because this is where society is in 2023, right? At work, I got to have back conversations to not hurt motherfuckers' feelings. Because they fuck up, right? So, imagine people that are out here thinking they can just scam you just because they feel like it. And then there's a motherfucker like me walking around talking all this shit. Because I don't give a fuck. Just like they don't. They don't give a fuck to scam you out your money buying shit coins after they pump them. I mean, damn, what happened? I remember when motherfuckers used to get skull drugged for talking about shit coins. Now we out here acting like it's okay. It's not okay. It's not. Because you're endangering people that don't know what you know and don't know what you don't know. And you can go on ahead and fix your mouth and say that's not your problem. Sure. But then don't pretend like you're doing God's work because you're a cocksucker. You're not doing anything. You're playing yourself and you're disrespecting what's trying to be built here. And whether you're trying to be a fucking narc or whatever the fuck or not, don't really matter. If your pussy hurt, that's your problem, not anybody else's. Because you're the one that's fucking up. Really, really simple. Nobody cares. Because all we see on the internet is a whole lot of complaining, a whole lot of hoe shit. That's what we see. And it's funny because it's not people that were here before Post Chain that do the majority of the complaining. And then the people that were here before Post Chain, well, you see them, they talk about shit coins now all day. So they're not even fucking hexagons. Oh, they're just foxicans, whoever they are. Whatever fuck they want to talk about, nobody cares. At the end of the day, what's true is true and what's right is right. And if we're here to talk about financial freedom, achieving sovereignty, with freedom comes responsibility. And if you don't know how to wield that freedom, then you don't deserve it. That's why you ultimately lose it. That's the facts of life. That's why no matter what kind of freedom you think you have, there's always going to be that one arena, that one area where you don't have it because you're not spiritually sound to the point where you can be. And of course, this is high level thinking, high level knowledge. This is not for plebs to understand. It's just the facts. And for the people that constantly tell me that they don't understand what I'm saying, that's because you're too stupid to understand what I'm saying. You're not intelligent enough, motherfucker. Read a book. I don't know why that's not apparent to you, you dumb fuck, because it was apparent to me when I could not comprehend the shit I was reading or hearing. That's typically how that works. You're motherfucking welcome. I mean, it's comedy hour out here. I really should consider Def Comedy Jam. Because y'all really make it easy. Y'all really, really do. So, do yourself a favor, help yourself out, because all I do is give it away. And all people do is pretend like they have to be stupid. And it's disheartening. You don't have to be stupid. You can level up. Nobody's gonna be mad if you show up one day smart. But if you keep showing up stupid, we're gonna keep shitting on you. That's just how it goes. And guess what? It's funny because now that I say this, I just realized today I seen an actor acting like they're enlightened. It's funny because once again, when you're online, you as an individual really need to learn how to be discerning, because this shit I seen as a retweet. And it's like, I don't know how to help some of you. Age is clearly a barrier to your understanding of what the fuck the internet is, but I suggest you learn to fucking listen and stop retweeting shit because it makes you look dumb. Because a retweet is a fucking endorsement. It don't matter what them journalists say. A retweet is a fucking endorsement. Period. So learn something and stop. Just stop playing yourself. Because what people fail to realize is what they consume determines the decisions that they make. This is why I go so hard about information. I mean, look at what just happened in the legacy markets. I don't think people realize how much of a statistical outlier this is. We've seen turnarounds before, but I'm saying fucking 10 days ago, this man was talking about fuck your inflation. I don't see it. Yo! And, 1.5 months ago, I'm like, this motherfucker fucking up. The market's clearly pointing in one direction and this, that, and the third. So, in my entire existence in markets, you know, nobody's ever this right this quickly, right? And there's too many of us in this camp all of a sudden. That's just not how it works. So, because that's just not how it works, we need to assess what is actually going on in the hood such that this makes some kind of sense, because we're talking about an entity that is there to misguide you. That's what they do. Boom and bust. They're not there to guide you. Because if that was the case, nobody would care about what Wales got to say. Nobody would care about what anybody else got to say. All you need to do is just listen to them people, because they got it all. They know when they're printing the money. They know when they're cutting the rates. They know everything. And the market is waiting on them, but that's not how it works. Market doesn't wait on them. Market doesn't care. I might stream a little more often than that, because, man, y'all fucking need it out here. Sad for me to say it, but it feels more like a moral obligation than anything else at this point. I mean, and it's sad because, again, the information is out there. It's not hiding. And to see people that have stared at me in my face act like they fucking have a clue and then show the world that they don't, oh man, that's disgusting. And so many people are in that camp. So many. It's crazy. It's crazy. And they're out here pretending to be crypto people. I'm a person that considers myself a cut above people in finance, because they don't even fucking know where the next trade is. These are people that are still over there thinking there's money to be made. They don't understand what the fuck's going on. They do not. They're talking about fucking Bitcoin. They talk about fucking Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's a joke. It's a joke, and the joke is on them, and they don't fucking have a clue, because they're not well versed. They don't do actual research. They don't know how to do research. They don't know how to just let I mean, and this is one guy that you would think would be in this camp because I actually learned this shit from him. And I hated this guy's writing until he wrote. I read this about him because I'm the kind of person that even if I don't like somebody, I'll read what they got to say if I know they're fucking smarter than me. And this is one of those guys. And I learned something from this guy that I didn't realize I already knew. And once that realization really hit, I mean, it changed my whole perspective on so many things, and it made me so much more smarter that random people will hit me up to ask me about the randomness things that they know I know nothing about, just to see if I could add value in any which way. I mean, that's the caliber of thought that I put into things. I don't got the papers and accolades to show that shit, and I don't need to, because that's not how I roll. I don't need that, and that's a function of my personality. People out here, you see them on social media begging and pleading for your interaction is disgusting. People interact with me all the time. And a lot of time I don't even want to hear it. Like, yo, bro, just go watch a fucking stream, man. I'm not here to, what I'm saying, have a back and forth with you. Figure your shit out. Because this is something that you, the individual, need to figure out. And if you gotta talk to yourself, you gotta do it. Because guess what? That's how you actually build that discipline. That's how you actually build those habits. That's how you actually get your mind right, because you're discussing these things that you need to be doing with the motherfucker that needs to be doing them, your damn self. And when you think about everything that we know about life in 2023, understand that your whole life you've been told, oh, crazy people talk to themselves, blah blah blah, blah 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 about people talking to themselves. So clearly that's just some type of fucking superpower. Talk to yourself. I do it all the fucking time. And you know what? I started doing it way before I realized, yeah, this is a super fucking power. It just fucking works. And that's why I do it. So do yourself the favor and understand that everything you've been taught is a lie. Period. I don't know you and I don't know what you know. I'm just sharing what I know that you might want to know is a lie. And in that respect, it'd be the financial system. And I've been studying that shit since I was a little kid. Period. A little kid. So when you got people out here telling you they're crypto experts, but they're waiting 7 days to get cash into their fucking wallet, let me fucking tell you something. They're not fucking crypto experts. Period. That right there should be your fucking barometer for what a crypto expert is. So when you're scrolling through Twitter and you see these clowns that are professing to be crypto experts, and they can't even get money to Coinbase in one day, yo, these motherfuckers don't know shit about money. Period. And that's something you need to understand right now. Because a lot of people out here buying that shit as if that's knowledge, and it's not. Speaking of buying, since motherfuckers out here paying for shit classes from these same clowns, I won't hate if you fucking start donating to my motherfucking YouTube. I'm pretty sure that super chat bullshit is still on. I know I used to hate on y'all before, but you know what? Since motherfuckers is out here stealing from y'all can give me money, because I at least give y'all some money to make, while these faggots out here taking y'all money. I mean, it's ridiculous. We out here talking about sovereignty and freedom, and these motherfuckers think that means I can stick you up and rob you. I don't think so. I really, really don't. And that's why I'm going to talk my shit, and that's why they're going to get the fuck out my way, and that's why they're going to shut the fuck up. Because nobody likes a hypocrite, and that's all we're seeing. Period. Nobody gives a fuck about your brand new shit coin. Shove it up your ass. I mean, I don't know how you haven't figured it out by now, but nobody gives a flying fuck about your shitcoin. So, do yourself a favor. Help yourself out. Go watch some Dave Chappelle, Cat Williams, do whatever the fuck you gotta do. Get that shit up out your system, man. Like, help yourself. You know, nobody's gonna help you if you cannot help yourself. And that's something that people really have a hard time wrapping their head around. And we're here to give that alpha away, but if you're not paying attention, good fucking luck. Good luck. Because if there's one thing I love about Richard Hart the most, is that that's his approach to who makes it on the boat and who doesn't. The motherfucker that accepts the information regardless of how it's delivered. And people have such a hard time with that. I mean, all these people that always feel like their feelings are hurt, they're not going to make it. Don't matter how much fucking money they got, they're not going to die with any of that shit, guaranteed. Because they are not spiritually whole. They're too busy trying to control how motherfuckers think, say, speak, feel, blah, 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 blah. These are people that are worried about controlling you and what the fuck you want to think and do. Period. That's what's going on. That's what you see on the Twitters. Why the fuck they talking to you about shitcoins for? Did Hex, Pulse X, and fucking Hex disappear? Nah, they really didn't. Right? So why don't they talk about them constantly? I mean, those are the ones to talk about. Right? So why don't we constantly hear about them? No. Those are the pariah coins, apparently. Apparently, you're a toxic maxi now if you only like those coins. And you know what? I'll be that. I'll be a toxic fucking maxi. You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to save people from losing fucking money, then I'll be a toxic maxi. Because you know what? A paper loss is better than not getting your money back at all. Those are the facts. And if you understood crypto, we wouldn't even be talking about losses. Because you'd be understanding what the fuck you need to be doing. And just getting T-shares and shut the fuck up. Getting Pulse Chain, shutting the fuck up. Getting Pulse X, shutting the fuck up. Forgetting you have them. Because at this point in time, they're not worth anything. Anything. You got people paying 4 figures for shit that works horribly. Let me repeat. You got people paying 4 figures for things that are not even really crypto and work horribly. Woo! Feel like homeboy in what's that movie? Damn. I can't remember now. Fuck. It'll come to me when I don't want to think about it. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, it's yes, I feel like homeboy in The Big Short, the Ryan Gosling character. What does he say? He says, "I'm like Jack to the tits." Yeah, this is gonna be one of those trades, and people don't understand because they thinking so short. And I get it, but they're not listening, and that's where I don't get it because they're being told. Like, I had to watch it. I had to live through it 2 times. First with Bitcoin, then with ETH. And I was there for Bitcoin, and I just disrespected myself with ETH, period. Just like people are disrespecting themselves now with Hex. It's the same fucking thing. It's literally the same exact thing. Yes. Same exact thing. And look, everybody in the chat, look, I love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. I haven't even fucking shown a chart yet. I appreciate y'all. Now look, we're gonna get to the charts in a little bit. We're gonna start talking about these markets just to see what they look like right now. Important to understand that, what's happened is, in my mind, is they've poured accelerant onto fire, right? And that should typically lead to a few outcomes. Um, and there's a couple. There's some scenarios that really are in limbo because it depends a lot on the broader macro picture, in my opinion. Uh, like crude, for example, is kind of a gambit. Because we, as I've been writing about for a long time, supply picture is crazy, right? It's clear that demand isn't there, but at the same time, it's clear that supply is all the way there in many aspects, globally, and it's not so much the U.S. nexus of the market. The global picture matters when it comes to a crude oil type of market where it's a product where the whole world plays a part. And this is why it's important to look at that market. At least in my opinion, it's important to look at that market because it really helps us understand the bigger picture. What we can see. I mean, hey, it's like I was talking about 45 days ago. 45 days ago, crude was really at the trough, right? 60s and whatnot. Right now, it's $4 up off those lows, or maybe it was even higher than I can't remember. We'll take a look at it a little bit. But point is, the market's fallen quite a bit, right? So expecting some sideways action at this point. I'm not sure. Maybe we're running into some resistance in the mid 70s, right? 72 and a half to 75, probably a good area for some resistance. So we'll take a look at the charts also over there in a little bit and see what that looks like. But you got to understand, folks, the type of alpha I talk about, it's for grown folks, unfortunately. So the little kids are gonna be, screaming and crying in the back because they don't understand. You gotta just ignore them, drown them out, because they're not helping you. Ask questions and whatnot. We're all about understanding this long-term picture to make the moves that are relevant to us, right? Because that's really all we can focus on, right? And here's the thing, if shit hits the fan, the last thing you need to worry about is crypto because you're not using that. You ain't even gonna be using cash. So what do you think that means? Right? So, understand the conversation that's being had. I think that's also very important. Context is key because everybody likes to mix crypto with shit hitting the fan. And you dead wrong. That's not what crypto's for. Crypto is not for shit hitting the fan. Crypto is for your freedom being non-existent. That's what crypto is for. And it's already there. And the majority of people just don't know enough to know that's the case. So when they speak, people like me don't have to fucking listen because they're not saying anything. They don't even know what the DTCC is. So who gives a fuck what they have to say? Because we're not even speaking the same fucking conversation. Right? Like, I think it's important that people realize that because people misunderstand reality for arrogance and whatever the fuck self-emotion they got going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't about you. It ain't about me. It's about the facts and the information that people need. People don't need my opinion. People need to know what's true. And people have a hard time with that. And when it comes to financial matters, it's very simple to see what's true and what's not. There's no debating it. It's obvious because you can see it. When you look out in these streets, no matter where you live nowadays, if you live in a city, especially in the West, you see the impacts of what they love to call capitalism, but it isn't. And I remember I used to have to explain this to people because in the hood, we have our way of viewing and saying and speaking about things, but it's not necessarily. God damn it. Hold on, guys. All right. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, I think you guys can hear me. Let's see. Yep. So it's not necessarily the. God damn it, what the hell was I talking about? So it's not necessarily just about the information, but it's about the caliber of the information and what people can do with it. So if you don't understand what we're talking about, that means you need to overstand what you think you know because you don't know enough. And I remember being that person. It's frustrating, but you'll get there and you got to put in the work. It ain't going to come to you. You got to put in the work. And people just don't want to put in the work. And, more power to you. I'm lucky enough because, it's one thing for me to break things down. I can break it down, but, you won't even take time to understand the most basic financial things. The stuff we have to discuss at this point are beyond that because people have already set things up in such a way that you will easily walk into a trap if you aren't already educated to a certain degree. And a lot of people do it all the time. Even those that know do it because they get complacent. And complacency reigns supreme in so many facets of our society because we get comfortable. And that's where complacency, rears its ugly head. That notion of comfort. It drives many into a world that doesn't exist, honestly. Right? I mean, this is why you're seeking financial freedom because that world you thought existed don't. And that shit is hard for some people, but that's what it is. It don't matter if you like it, you gotta chew on it because that's what you get. Uh, yeah. You don't really get to pick and choose. If we got to pick and choose, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, right? So those are the kinds of things that are hard for people to accept, but they gotta accept because the world don't stop. Like if it was up to me, there wouldn't even be no financial system because in reality, it's not even necessary, right? But that's the level of thinking that a lot of people aren't even built for. They're like, "What you mean it's not necessary?" Yeah. Well, how the hell is that even possible? Well, let's think about it like this. Excuse me for a second. If people like doing shit, right? There's something that you, the individual watching this stream, generally likes to do. Whether they're getting paid for it or not. That's a fact. Most people, that's something that you like to do that you don't gotta get paid for it. So, what if the world operated in such a way that people just naturally did what they like doing, regardless of what it is? I'm sure there's people that naturally like collecting trash. You know what I'm saying? And there's no disdain on it. Like, there's like this shit has to happen. I don't understand why there's a disdain on it. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody can pick up the trash, man. Like who what you think it's just gonna pick itself up? Like I don't understand. So it's things like that. Just the way we look at things has to get fixed, right? And I don't know, man. That's everybody's job. It's not one person's job. And you know, until people don't really get it in their heads that there is no one person, nothing is really ever going to change because that means that we're going to spend our lives waiting on some other motherfucker to do something and we're never going to do anything. And I'm afraid what is ultimately going to be the end result of what we end up getting. You know, just look at everything. That's all it is. It's somebody waiting on somebody else to do something. And Nobody's going to do nothing. Nobody's going to come save you. Nobody's going to do anything. Like 2020, 2021, 2022. I don't know how many examples we need to, excuse me, to put us in a place where it's obvious things are messed up. Like, I don't know how many examples we need, but apparently many. And, the markets do not reflect any of that. The markets don't give a rat's ass. You know what I'm saying? The markets are living. They don't give a shit. You know what I mean? And people, what do they care? They don't need to. That's just what it is. And until they're impacted, living on the streets, etc., most people are not going to give a fuck. And here's the sad part. At that point, excuse me, it's too late. And nobody wants to hear what you got to say at that point. So how do we stop it? Right? And that's literally a societal change. It's the only way. Because there can't be a structural change when we're talking about eliminating the only problem causing thing that exists. This notion that there can't be infinite housing, this notion that, just this notion of scarcity. I mean, that's ultimately what it boils down to, right? And it's not communism, because that's ridiculous. We're going back to the same fucking problems if we talk about that. We're talking about a complete restructuring of how people view things. Why is happiness a sad thing? Like, what the fuck? Like, this is what we're saying. We're saying that we can't be born to just do shit we enjoy. This is what society says. And I don't agree with that. That's ridiculous. So, how do you I don't know how you change that. I mean, that's something you got to get on a generational perspective, right? It's like these like these politicians do with the kids, right? Like how they tried to do with us and it didn't work. That's the only way. There's no other way. I don't know. It's crazy, but that's what it is, man. That's what it is. So let's pull up these charts and try to see what's going on here. My charts changed a little bit because I just felt like changing it just to some stuff I used to do. So don't mind me and my charts. Hold on. Jesus, come on. All right. So we're gonna start off with the S&P. And the last time I talked about this thing, it was probably like 4,200 or something like that, maybe 4,300. And this little red line here is we're looking at a daily chart. So we're looking at a daily time frame. CME futures, which is the centrally. So the way futures markets work, every contract has a structure. They're called exchange traded products. Sure can. We'll get to it. And thank you for watching. And what that means is that no matter what product you trade on the exchange, you can be rest assured that it's going to be similar in the sense that the way you get in is the way you get out. Meaning you put up margin, you have a specific P&L based on that contract and the tick values, right? And done. That's all that says. So if you're trading crude, gold, sugar, whatever have you, they're exchange traded products. In the sense that you're trading futures contracts. And that's the product that you're trading. So with this futures contract, it's the S&P 500 E-mini. And there used to be a big contract where it was $250 for 1 point. So if you went from, where are we now? We're at 47.77.50. So if we want 10 points up to 47.87 spot 50, let's go down to 15 minutes, 13 minutes so people can understand what I'm trying to say. So right now we're at 47.77.50. If we went back to the high, right, that's 10 points. Back in the day, that would be 25,000 because that was the only kind of contract you could trade. Eventually, they came out with the E-mini to make it more financially feasible for more players to participate, thereby creating a more liquid market. And that worked very well for many years from, I guess, the 80s up until 2000, I guess, 17, maybe 15. I can't remember when they did the micros at first. But now they got the micros. And the micros is just a tenth. It's a reduction, just like the E-mini was. And it's good to trade because it's liquid. But you got to be careful when you get into the closes because that's when it gets very liquid. Because nobody's trying to hold that. It's not a real it's not like a big contract. It's not really worth holding from that perspective, unless you're just trend trading into something like that. So you got to be careful from that perspective. But people use it primarily to manage their risk better because, long story short, if you can trade 10 contracts and have the same exposure as a big contract, then it's the same thing. But you're able to dissect your risk mathematically precisely in a way you couldn't do it before. So it just makes risk management easier. That's really the more, and that's why it's more liquid. Now, if you look at this 13-minute chart, what should be evident as you look at the lower indicator is this super duper, you know, divergence, negative divergence at that. We're going to get rid of this extension and we're going to highlight the divergence on the lower pane down here. I mean, this is just a 13-minute chart, but rest assured, the market is looking a little. I mean, this is right now, right? Yeah, this is right now. What the hell? Am I looking? Oh, no, sorry. This is the wrong contract. I got to get rid of that. Gotta be looking at the H. Sorry, guys. So that dump is because people were rolling from one contract to the next. So I just wasted everybody's time with that. Sorry about that, guys. Let me just get up out of here and look at the regular contract. All right. Not that bright of a picture either. So I guess it kind of still stands. But what we're going to do in this instance is, since we're looking at a small picture, relatively speaking, we're going to expand this a little bit. We're going to 10x the picture just to see. Now, it's important to remember that we're just starting with this contract because before it was the December contract. And the way futures works, these contracts change out on a monthly basis. So this 46.94 was the last trade on this monthly contract. So got to get rid of that and got to add the March, right? If you're trading, you got to make sure you're trading the right contract because otherwise you're SOL. You don't want to be SOL putting your money in the wrong contract because then you might not be able to get out. And that's assuming your broker is good enough to not, let you make that mistake. Every broker ain't that good. So you got to be aware. All right. So when we're looking at this image, we're getting a holistic view of what's happened in the market over the past 30 days thereabouts, right? And the market really took off after Halloween. And it could be that we're going to trend sideways again, right? Like we did here. We trended sideways basically half for the last 30 days. 3 weeks up until the second week of September or December, excuse me. Then the market took off again. That's all you're seeing on this chart. Because it took off end of Halloween, or end of October, paused mid-November, then took off again right at the 7th of December. So, and here we are and we're above the range, right? So, okay, let me explain what these channels are. These are called Donchian channels. This guy is like known as the father of trend trading or technical trading for futures. And long story short, people typically put the length at like 20 to figure out when the market is moving or whatever. They try to trade like a breakout or whatever, right? And as you guys can see, um, if you put a longer time frame, like it gives you kind of a better view, right? So you don't have to stick to what the conventional numbers are. Play with the metrics of these indicators and see what works best for you. That's what my advice would be, because that's really what technical analysis is. Unless you're doing math, that really isn't going to do nothing for you. Because at that point, you need to be doing statistical analysis, and that's a whole other conversation. Anyways, so long story short, you want to see the market hold this 47.60 level, if not 47.50, 47.40, right? And you definitely don't want to see it lose the area from which it broke out, which is easily visible. And this is a 144-minute chart. If we go down to 55 minutes, right, it's even more visible, where you can see where the market recently took out from. And it's just to be aware, right? It's not for any other reason. Let's just put a background on that just so we can maybe see something. All right, good enough. So this is the breakout area, right? And this was mid-December. So last week, literally. So now the market's gonna, and as you guys might or might not know, the market moves mostly sideways. Whether it's going up or down, that's a small portion of the time. The market mostly moves sideways. Important to understand. Um, because that's how you don't get caught in value traps, right? Which is opportunity cost. So that's what's going on with the E-mini. And look, and this is a function of what's recently happened with Powell and his pivot, right? And that pivot is a dastardly one because it caused a serious pump, right? Like this is something I mathed up here, and basically it kind of gives a read of the relative move. So if we're talking about something that's 20 times versus something that's 7 times, that's pretty big, right? That tells you that this is a pretty strong impulsive move and probably has a high probability of continuing. You see? And this is kind of what this indicator tells you. And on the backside, it tells you when it's probably a good time to buy that dip, right? I mean, it tells you every time. So this is just something I mathed up that makes sense with the way I look at the market. And it really helps me figure it out because, ultimately the idea is to be on the right side, not to be right. And it takes people time to figure that out. And that's kind of what's difficult for people when it comes to hex also. They want to pretend to understand it, and there's a lot of layers, a lot of moving parts. And the good thing about that is that you don't even need to understand all those layers and parts. But if you pretend to, that's where things get lost in translation. And that's where you get exposed, right? Because who really wants, yeah, just stop it. So when we look at this, right, we're looking March 2021 now. So we're going back 2 years and a half from this point in time, looking at this chart. And what I want you guys to notice is just the gyrations that the market's been through. Let me get rid of this volume profile. I want you guys to just focus on just the gyrations that the market's been through to a degree. And these lines down here, they show where the market is willing to provide support on a long-term basis based on derivative positioning. So the idea is that this is where the market will react with money. That's the idea behind those levels. And those levels can be found if you understand derivatives and the data behind it. So it ain't like it's something that anybody can make up. It's out there. You just got to understand that that's what it is. So that's what these lines are, just in case anybody's curious. And that in the market is just options positioning. Who has the most strikes and puts? Excuse me, who has the most calls and puts, and at which strikes? That's basically what I'm looking at. And if we're looking at this level here, right, we see that the market has paused here before, right? Looking all the way back to January, February, April timeframe, March, right? And April again. And we see this 48.50 level. The market held for a while also, right? And this was that it was making lower lows throughout time. So the idea is that price could get stuck in here, but the question is, will it stay up here above this level, right? We just talked about these levels, 47, 40, right? Through that 47, 46.50 level. Price has to stay up there if it's going to continue on, right? And that indicator is not lying, because that's ultimately what you want from an indicator, for it to confirm what you're seeing. You don't want it to, like, it can't lead, right? Like an indicator cannot tell you the future because it's based on what the chart is showing. That's it. So if the market continues parading north and it doesn't stall out here, right? Because if we're looking at down here below, right, the scale moves up to 100, as you guys can see. And the move that we're seeing now has not been this high before. Now let's expand this lower pane just to give you guys a better look. All right, this is the tallest it's been since June, August last year. And I think that was in a downtrend. So, yeah, 2022. So that was during that bear market year. Right? So that's a function of people short covering, basically. And it might not look like that, but yeah, that's what that was. Because why else would the market just travel back down to finish the third quarter and then rip up into Q4 to then get sold off into the end of the year, right? For window dressing, because that's just how Wall Street works. And understand that, because when these markets move, a lot of time it's never for the headlines. Never. Now let's look at crude real quick. Oh, look at that. We're looking at a daily candle on crude. And I had drawn these lines, these channel lines, just to get an idea of what the pattern has been. And it seems like right now it is running into resistance. Let's look at a 30-minute chart. And as you guys can see, this high is still holding here, right? So one thing I've noticed is when these levels hold like this across time, price typically does not test it again. It just doesn't. It either reverses, tests the middle band, which is that line seen here, or it keeps going lower. Now, the Dacian channel gives me the most recent low and the most recent high for the number of periods I'm entering in the settings. All right, so I'm choosing 89 in my settings. The number 89 because it's a Fibonacci number, and secondly because it's long enough of a period for me to really see a good trend if I want to, trade a breakout, which is the idea behind this uh, indicator in the first place. So while it's not now, we're looking at a 34-minute chart, right? So if we zoom this out, yeah, you can pick up nice trends, right? If you're patient and you understand what you're looking at, because it's obvious that this is a downward trend because you're below the middle line, and then price keeps just making you lows, but you never get above that middle line. So it's really easy, right? Once you wrap your head around what it's telling you, but you can't really like try to pretend to know more than what it's telling you. And this is where we make these mistakes because we try to act like we're smarter than the market. And the market is telling you what's going on. Don't buy that dip. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because look, here we're seeing how price is persistently testing lower, right? And if it recovers, it recovers, but it stays away. You see, it stays away. But here it's staying away from the upper band and it's hugging that lower band. So does it make sense to buy that low? Probably not. Right? But here it picks up and it never comes back and it retraces, right? It recovers over this middle band. But here, not looking too hot. I mean, it's tried, failed, tried again, failed. Do you think the market has another try in it? I mean, this is right now. Let's see. This is tonight, yeah. 34 minutes. So this is from in the past 3 hours, hour and a half. Market looking pretty weak. 2 hours or so. Well, I don't know. Well, 7 to 10, 3 hours. So in the past 3 hours, that market has not been able to get up whatsoever at all. And here's the important thing to remember, right? This is crude. The Middle East determines a lot of the fate in this market, right? Uh, and that's crucial to wrap your head around because that narrative shifts from one moment to the next with crude. It's not something that's persistent, almost like gold. Just like Bitcoin, gold also has a shifting narrative because it's unfortunately too many people in the way. Just like crypto, too many people in the way. They don't want you to have the real information. They want you to buy what they're selling, whatever they're selling that day. Simply just how it works, sadly. And gold and all these other markets are no different. Silver, platinum, palladium, they're no different. There's people pretending to know what they don't know. And here's the thing. What are the odds that this goes higher? Pretty good because it's above these moving averages, right? And let me just get rid of this, just make it a little cleaner. Hold on, let me get rid of this shite. All right. So, because price is above the moving averages, the probability that continues going higher is there. But the price action versus the highs and the fact that it's making lower highs and it failed again at the same area is not positive for price structure. And then momentum is subdued on top of that. Look at the last time that happened. It's right here. Right? So we have a combination of price looking weak, price running up against this area of resistance. And on a longer term basis, the moving averages are acting as resistance. Now we're expanding or zooming out the time frame to daily. Let me get this chart in order because with this indicator, this thing acts crazy. So as you guys can see, price is still under the moving average, but moving averages are leveling out. And what that means is volatility on a long-term basis. So, as crazy as it sounds, I mean, you see these lines that I've drawn out here, right? So this is the derivative market calling out the extremes of what it could be, right? And I made these readings 9 days ago because I wrote it on the crude chart because that's the first one. So that's when I wrote it. Now the trend is bearish, right? And these lines is just the Ichimoku cloud, and all I did was just take the the way the market is structured and have it presented in a certain way that I agree with when I see it. And for every market, it might not be the same reading because it might not look right. But that's the way I look at the market, so that's the way I treat it. And the thing is, it's just the Ichimoku. I just realized is just like easier for my eyes with this. It's just simpler with how I clean it out, and I'm understanding the way I'm looking at it. So again, it's not just a preference thing because I don't really need to have it on there. It's just what am I looking at when I'm looking at it, right? And you got to find different ways of to dissect these things for yourself so that it makes sense for you. Because again, it's not about who's using what. So, anyways, if the market is going to keep this rotation around 70 and 90, it's going to keep doing it as long as these moving averages are flat. And that's how it is, right? So until the market decides to pick a direction, be it above 90 or below 64, 65, that's kind of what it's going to have to be. That's just structurally how markets work. And right now, the market is structurally very bearish, right? So the question then becomes, is the market overtly bearish? Does it make sense to start looking for a bull trade? Like, and the answer is always maybe, maybe not, because that's how markets are. But you gotta let the market tell you what makes sense. And in my mind, you want to kind of see the market break this higher. Like that's what I would want to see. And just so happens that this is resistance already, right? In so many facets, in so many ways, you have all these different things telling you that's already resistance. So if the market can get above there and potentially shift the tone of other markets, right? Because that's kind of the thing that's difficult for people to wrap their head around. We just looked at the equity markets and they look right bullish to a certain extent, right? That's what's going on over there. Here's a NASDAQ. That thing never looks like it's taking a break, right? I mean, look at these moving averages. This thing looks like it's on beast mode, right? I mean, and the S&P just didn't look like that. And I mean, look, even the indicators just look weaker on the S&P. On the Nasdaq, it looks stronger. It just looks different. But when you look at China, I mean, nobody even talks about that equity market. And what do they want? They want people emulating China. Things to think about, people. Things to think about. And let's look at silver and gold real quick. Now, you're looking at 8 days per candle. Okay. Now, in 2020, the market went haywire, right? It went down to 14. And within months, it went back to $32. Now, what you don't know, more than likely, is that in the futures markets, $1 in silver is 5,000 in P&L. So if we're talking about an $18 move in 1 year, which never happens in silver, damn. And do the math on that. $18 times 5,000. 18 times 5,000. Right? And this is why the futures market is so attractive. But it's understanding, right, the move and why it's happening. That is what sets apart a major winner from a major loser. And that takes time. It's not something that, who the hell could have forecasted an $18 move in silver in 1 year? I mean, people have been calling for this thing to go to $5,000 an ounce for decades, and it just never happens. So, things to understand about markets and how they move. It's not always easy and apparent, but sometimes time is required. Because here's something that's true for legacy markets, but not for crypto. And the reason I say it's not for crypto is because it's too young. It can't be true. And people have a hard time accepting that, but that's just the case. Because, there's only one direction for a young market to go. There's really not much of a debate about that. And, it's really that simple. Now, let's expand this chart a little bit. All right. This is silver going back to 1970. Now, I don't know if people understand the history of silver from a political perspective, but, you know, they want people to think that silver is boudet, right? Like you don't want it, whatever. But, reality is it's just another undervalued metal, right? And this chart really highlights that. If I turn off this thing, it'll just look a little different, but it's the same picture, right? And this provides a better perspective of reality because it gives you the right scaling of where things are going. All right. And all that has to happen is this resistance gets flipped. And this is right back to where we were, only right above that $32 area, interestingly enough. And in legacy markets, wicks do determine future price action. But that's because somebody at that wick point is there to sell it back down instantly because they're waiting to exit. And they're probably going to take that money somewhere else or maybe buy the dip later or whatever have you. But that money doesn't leave the market. In crypto right now, that money leaves the market. So those wicks are not as significant as you would presume them to be as they are in legacy. Because, the market is fleeting. People don't believe in it. It's too much of a scam still in the sense that, on Pulse Chain alone, there's 7,000 shitcoins. Like, I'm sorry. Like, no, nobody cares about 7,000 shitcoins. Not going to happen. Never going to happen. Just how it goes. So when you're looking at stuff like silver, gold, it's imperative that you wrap your head around the relative importance of these commodities and what they represent. It's not so much so that, they're a competition for crypto. Man, everything's competition for everything. So you can get your mind out of that one. Right? I mean, you got to have a little bit of everything, and that's the smart thing to do. Like, and this is something I've talked about before. People love talking about diversification, but they really lie in the sense that they don't really talk about it. They just mention, oh, you got to have 100 different shit coins, or you got to have 100 different shit stocks. That's not diversification. That's a fraud. That's a straight up fraud. Now let's look at natural gas. Now look at this puppy. This thing looks like it's the end of the world. I mean, look at this. This is insane. I mean, I don't even know what to make of that. I don't know enough about this market, but crazy. Like I'm crazy interested in figuring out what the hell's going on here. Cause how is the price of everything going up? But this thing, which we all need, is just somehow dying. I don't know. It's crazy, but we're gonna wait for it. We're gonna figure this bad boy out. Now look, this one, right? You see the most recent high in 23rd August 22. So last year, a year and a half ago almost, a year 4 months ago. Now that's $12, right? So $12 to uh, uh $11, that's 10,000 a point. So if you were short the market this whole time, right? That means you made 10,000 times 10. Now you guys can do the math on that. I don't got to do it. But this is the allure of the futures markets. And this is why I constantly tell people, you don't need to be wasting your time in crypto. You like the level of risk in crypto is crazy. All you got to do is round up your chips and learn what's going on in the futures markets and ride a trend. You don't need to day trade. Like as you guys can see, if you waited long enough, you're gonna catch you a nice trend in these futures markets, and then you gonna get paid. Like it's not an option, unless you want to trade options. You know what I'm saying? Then of course, if you don't time that, it might be an option because your ass ain't gonna get paid. So now let's look at the futures interest rate markets, and this damn thing. I gotta figure out those lines because they didn't know the shit out. So this thing right here, right? Interest rates. Right now, we're at a point where, man, it's obvious it's time to be long. So in my mind, it breeds contempt for a pullback by default. And we got two long-term moving averages right here. The market's done reversed in such a way, and it's time for this trend to continue. Yes, because everything is what it is, but the market itself has a lot. It's had a lot of structural changes. Now, I could discuss them, but they're not going to really add value to your day. So we're not, and that's okay. The important thing to understand is this trend ultimately continues, but it's got to be chewed on first by the market. And what that means is volatility. And that means that rates are still going to be relatively high in the short term. But that's all right because we're going to find ways to augment our income, right? That's the whole objective of what we're supposed to be doing. And I think people get lost in the sauce of pretending to be doing something online, man. I really don't know how else to think of it. I mean, it's fucking wild, but I don't know, man. But we're going to talk about this crypto stuff in a little bit because the rates is really last. Um, and the thing about crypto that people don't understand is that this shit, and thank you, Alan, for the $5. Crypto isn't a sanction scam yet, correct? Once it is, you're late. Hence, BTC, ETH, stables, etc. Don't conflate a smart contract being crypto. Yeah, I thought I was gonna even break down like crypto in the basic sense, but I'm at a point, man, where it's just like if you don't even know, if you won't even bother Like you're just not gonna make it anyways. So, I try to tell people like even this notion of stables, it's like, man, like that's relative, yo. When you out there paying $10 for that burger, guess what? Your dumbass is paying 10 stables too. Like that doesn't absolve you. Think is you got a stable, you don't gotta pay that same $10? Like what the fuck are you thinking? Dumbass. Of course you're paying them $10. Like it doesn't change anything. Value is relative. It is not absolute. So you need to learn that. That's a function of ratios. I talk about that all the time. How do you find that understanding? You really got to think about it because when you're used to just using one currency, it's almost impossible. But you got to realize the price of everything in dollars is going up. That's because a dollar is worth less intrinsically. That means naturally by itself because they print more and more of it every day. And here's the thing that's hard for people to understand. The stock market and the way our system is set up, and it took me a while to really wrap my head around this because it's such a circle jerk that you really got to understand how the circle jerk works to really believe that what's happening has to happen because it's impossible to believe that it happened, but it does. So the way our financial system is set up, the more we buy into it, the stickier it becomes. It's literally like a virus in many ways because it attaches itself to the host, which is the human user. And if the human user doesn't stop using it, hold on, guys. Seems like it's not going to stop, but it does, but it doesn't. This is one of those weird ones. We'll just keep talking about it until I figure out what's going on. No worries. I think it went away. So the dollar, right? The dollar is like it's like this bacteria. Once it finds a host, it sticks and it doesn't let go. And the problem is that everything requires dollars, right? And people don't know to not use dollars. So it becomes this self-perpetuating infestation that you can't really stop because people have to know to stop and they don't know to stop. Who's going to tell them? You. And they're going to look at you like you crazy. Who are you? So, only through pain and suffering, unfortunately, are we going to learn that that's what it's going to take. I don't know what else it could be. I don't. Maybe somebody can enlighten me in the chat. But I doubt it because I'm hard pressed to see it. Right? Like, and the economy is such that we already have two worlds. We already have two worlds. We have the worlds of the haves and those of have-nots. And depending on how hard you work, you're going to end up in one or the other. That's the future that is being laid out for people. And sadly, people don't appreciate that enough to their detriment. Because, when you look at AI, people were really worried about how it's going to replace people and all that. And don't get me wrong, of course it's going to replace people in many ways. Give me a second, guys. The thing to understand is how, right? And I think people have a hard time really wrapping their head around how because, AI is not autonomous. Somebody got to turn that shit on. Somebody got to turn that shit off. And people have a hard time wrapping their head around that. They thinking like it functions by itself. And no, man, that shit does not function by itself. Somebody got to turn it on. Somebody got to turn it off. Period. I don't care who you are, where you're from. That's, every machine has a goddamn on-off switch. Otherwise, it's not a machine. It's a fucking human. So what we talking about? And, I try to have this conversation at work the other day, man. But it's like talking to fucking normal people is such a pain in the ass. It's fucking crazy. Like, I'm the kind of person that if I got to fix my mouth to say certain things, I just can't. I've realized that. Like, it's fucking crazy. I can't. Anyway. Um, you know, where does it end, right? Where do people come to realize that, you know, I need to embrace this tech change because that's what I need to do. Like, used to be a real tech geek, and then I fought it, and then, you know, whatever. Like, you got to deal with it, man. Like, people are gonna accept it, so you got to get ahead of it. Because guess what? The world is changing, whether you like it or not. And, you know, some things change, some things don't, and you're better off knowing which do and which don't. That's, you know, those are the facts. How can you refute the facts? You know, the sad fact is that Michael Jordan is not considered the best anymore, even though he is. You know, that's the world we live in. He's the best by default. But you can't tell a young person that because they don't know shit about Michael Jordan. Hint, hint. Y'all gotta think about that. Yeah, this is a good comment, George, because it's relatively true, man. Sadly so. And excuse the noise in the background. But yeah, man. People sadly do not like to learn from experience of others. They like to learn, and I'm no different. You know, talking about myself too. I've learned, you know, people ask, why am I so smart? I'm not smart. I'm not smart at all. I seem like I'm smart because I'm very dumb. Now, what I mean by that? Well, the majority of what you hear from me is stuff I have learned through making tons of mistakes because I'm not smart. Common misconception that I am. But nope, you only learn all these things from fucking up, not from being smart. So, when do you realize you just don't know what you think you do? You know, are you going to wait until you learn the lesson the hard way? Or are you going to take experience at face value and go confirm what's being said? Because that's the thing, right? Nobody's telling you to take experience at face value alone. You must confirm. You must confirm because everything is verifiable, right? How can we know that alternate histories are true and say it with such confidence? Because there are records, man. You know, motherfuckers cannot just make these bold ass claims and, you know, leave it at that. Yeah, it's pretty wacky when people think about it. Yeah. You know, there's got to be records, folks. You know, and the thing is that the way we're taught is backwards. We're taught that the records are the books, and they're not. The records are literally the damn records. So if you're not seeing what's happening in the records, then you literally don't know what's happening. You don't. So how can you make any determinations whatsoever? You know, you can't. And these are the things that, you know, it's hard for people to wrap their head around, but it's critical if you want to understand the game. You know, pretending is not really helping, man. You got to really put in the work. Let's change the direction of this freaking thing here. Oh, damn. Hold on, guys. Oh, I think I gotta open this. Nope. Oh, all right. Let me see if I can figure this out. Yep, figured it out. Cool. All right, so we were working with here. Ooh, you're in the reversal panel. Yep. So you're in the reversal panel. Let me get rid of this here. This doesn't even work that well. So what's hard for people to really wrap their head around when it comes to crypto? You know, we're so early that people don't even know what crypto is, right? And that's, I guess, the biggest battle with respect to crypto, because people will bring their opinions to the fore like they matter. But hell, man, people on Wall Street don't have a clue what the fuck is going on in crypto. And, these are the people that are controlling all the money. All of it, not you. So if they don't know, you might want to figure it out before them. Because here's what you don't know: they're already being told that they cannot buy. And I mean they, in the sense that the broader market is not engaging in high dollar value items. Because it don't make no literal sense, man. Like, why in the hell would you buy 300, 400 quantity of something when you can buy 10 times that, 20, 1,000, 10,000 times that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense from a risk return profile perspective. Like, it's just dumb. And, that's not what you're told by media, because that's not media's job, And if you follow crypto media specifically, I mean, number one, you're stupid. Number two, you deserve what you get, because you're going to get nothing but crap from there. I mean, it's really simple. If financial media isn't doing you any freaking favors, what do you think crypto's media is there to do? Even less, right? So these are things you gotta focus on, because why else would they be working so hard to divert real crypto information? I mean, we got a whole gang of people there here within Hex just for that. I mean, they exist just to divert real crypto information. There's no other reason that they exist. Show me another reason. You can't. Right? And that's what's crazy. They're that obvious, and they don't think they are, I guess. I don't know, but they got to work harder, because it's not good enough. So, where does it end? It only ends with you. But it only ends with you. So this is why it's imperative that you understand that what happens on these charts on an interim basis, man, it doesn't matter, because they're temporary, in the sense that, I mean, we're talking 5, 6 months time. They were launched in May. Yeah, we just hit 7 months. So, where does it end? Do you just pull the plug because you don't understand? A lot of people are saying yes. And, we know what comes with that. We've seen it before, right? Sad that people don't get it. Hex PLS, 0.8%. Somebody asked me to talk about the scarcity of T-shares. It's interesting because people don't understand T-shares. Funny one, Emmett. Funny. Yeah, people definitely act like that, though, right? It's crazy. They definitely do. Yeah. So the T-share, right? The T-share is this thing that's essentially performing a multi-function, in the sense that it maintains the strength of the Hex network. And what I mean by the Hex network is the ability to earn yield from Hex, the protocol itself, because that's the purpose of Hex. Oh yeah, I forget to mention that. Yeah, PLSX, 3% of it is gone forever already. So take that as you will. When it comes to young markets like crypto, they're easily manipulable in the sense that if you understand what's going on, you keep winning because you're playing for the long term, right? And that's what's hard for people to wrap their head around because they want to just win now. They don't want to have to wait. And the thing is that even if they wait for a little bit, it's better than not waiting at all versus waiting forever, which is the best wait, right? Ask everybody that was selling Bitcoin at 69K. I bet you they never thought they would be doing that, right? And that's the thing. It's like, what's your number? Do you have one? Do you not? Do you not care? If you don't care, then it doesn't matter, right? You got enough that it doesn't matter. If it matters, you're not crying about it on Twitter. You're waiting for that number. You're strategically allocating, understanding that this is a future risk adjusted trade. Like, it's not for tomorrow. It's not for the day. It's literally for when it works. And that's it. And a lot of people have a hard time understanding that because they want to see this, right, be inverted. They want that, only to go up all the way, not stop. So a lot of people have a hard time with that, right? So look, if we go back to line form, it looks like it's going to break down, basically, because I inverted it. But who knows? Maybe somebody waiting to buy it up because it is theoretically on support area. So, that's the thing about crypto that's hard for people to wrap their head around. You don't know who's going to do what and when because we can drum up all the TA we want. All it takes is one person to come and decide differently. And that changes the whole dynamic of what was happening on that chart and why. I mean, for real, that happens all the time. And if you pay enough attention to charts, you see that. You don't gotta stare at 15-minute charts to see that. Like you see it on daily time frames, So these are things that are important to understand because it will save your ass in the long run. Very much so. Very much so. Because, this isn't the whole chart for Hex, right? Let's Hex chart, is it? Yeah, hexchart.com. This one has like the whole chart. You don't gotta look hard. And this is important to understand when you're looking for a long-term investment, right? Because what if it travels right down to here? Just to find that support. And then it takes off and never comes back again. I mean, imagine all the people that would get shaken out and think that it is never coming back just because it traveled there. Think about that. I mean, it's crazy when you think about that. The washout. That would be perfect. That would be literally or at least a half a cent or something like that. Right? But I'm talking about in the other chart, not this one. This is just a whole picture. But they look the same, only this piece is represented. Because we're basically talking about, right, mid-May. So mid-May, cut that in half, whatever. So, this is support. That would sew it up and not leave any potential downward. And then, of course, we're talking about mature markets here, right? When it comes to young markets, like, nobody's ever going to see 50 cent Microsoft stock, period. That happened by mistake in like 2009. You just never, and I'm taking a wild guess because I don't even know if that happened. But point is, you're just never going to see that in real life. Like, it's just not going to happen. Yeah, that's basically what I just talked about. That's not really supply demand. At least not in my mind, because I was doing that before that came popular. That's just, pullback, support tests, and resistance tests. That's just all that is. So supply demand is all over the chart. They just call it whatever. I don't know, and I don't know why you would give a fuck. Worry about your own pockets, because somebody else don't matter. One motherfucker in this market is irrelevant. So do yourself a favor and never worry about what one other motherfucker's doing, because they don't matter. They can sell out. So what? I just sat here like 20 minutes ago telling y'all Wall Street don't even know what the fuck crypto is. Here you are at the forefront of finance and you asking dumbass questions about what some other motherfuckers doing. Might want to rethink your angle on that one. And that's just facts. I don't know you. I don't know nothing about you. Just giving you the facts. Because at the end of the day, you got trillions of dollars out there that got to go somewhere. That one motherfucker don't matter. Straight up. And guess what? Not a lot of markets set up to handle trillions of dollars. Something to think about. Because Bitcoin ain't, Ethereum ain't, and that's facts. While everybody out here talking all their shit about the little shit coins, what's not being talked about is how the rest of the world needs to find somewhere to put their little shitty dollars. Because their little shitty dollars are not worth what they once were. And relatively speaking, there's not many good places to put shitty fiat. So it just so happens that crypto is waiting on the sidelines for somebody to come and play along. And you motherfuckers out here worry about some cornball on the internet. Might want to rethink that strategy. Just saying. Might want to rethink that strategy. Because it sure as hell ain't going to cut it. And that's just hands down what's going on. No opinions there. Just giving you the facts, man. One entity. I remember watching back in 2013 through 15, man. I'd be up late at night watching these goddamn rate markets just to see PIMCO fucking do their fuckboy shit during Europe Open, because that's when they would do it. And everybody knew it was PIMCO. Wasn't no fucking secrets there. Because if a little old me knew in the goddamn Bronx, well, or wherever the hell I was living at the time, of course everybody knew, because I ain't nobody. So you up there watching the shit go down. And guess what happens, yo? The market decides where the fuck is going to go. Not PIMCO. Not PIMCO, because guess what? They could do whatever they want, but the market's going to dictate what happens for the next few hours, the next few days, the next this, the next that. So if they're not in tune with that market and they're not ready to take on that risk, they're going to pay the piper. It don't matter that they're PIMCO. The market matters. That's why people get washed out, because they're not respecting their pockets. You know what I mean? So that's what you really ultimately have to worry about, because at the end of the day, PIMCO and them, man, they got trillions to sit on and do nothing but wait for that one opportunity, because that's what they get paid to do. We don't get paid for that. We don't get paid for nothing but our actions. And this is why it's imperative that people really sit down and take stock about what they're doing and why they're doing it. Why do we care about hex? Why do we care about pulse chain? Why do we care about pulsex? It's because we can simply do what we need to do on those protocols, no questions asked. We don't need to ask permission. We don't need to get KYC. We don't need our homie to lie to us about anything when it comes to these protocols, because they sure as hell was lying. But guess what? The protocol is still working without them, so we don't need them to lie. They can keep it over there lying to themselves as if they help somebody. They don't help nobody. All they do is lie. Simple as that. So, if all they do is lie, and they're not really there to help you achieve anything, what do you owe these people exactly? Because they sure as hell act like you owe them some shit. I don't know why, but they sure as hell do, always asking for shit. So, in my opinion, I've always said we have the only real DeFi, and I'm still standing by that because it's evident when everywhere else you're getting shut down and turned around and all kinds of crazy shit that motherfuckers don't even know can happen. Oh yeah, I would tell people all the time not to use Ledger. Bet you dumb fucks learned how and why now. Yeah. So and again, man, it's about understanding what we're here to do. When people put themselves in them kind of positions, it just proves that they're not here for what they're supposed to be here for. And they're going to learn these hard lessons the hard way of what is privacy, what is freedom, what is the ability to transact, what are all these things that we're constantly harping about and why they matter and why they fucking matter. Because now your ass just got fucking rinsed for 600 racks thinking you fucking knew better. But you didn't know shit. You didn't know shit. And here's the fucking thing. People get rinsed every day because they pretend to know better. Like, yo, pretending does not pay the bills, kid. It doesn't. Ask a broke trader. Straight up. They broke. They can't even pretend because they broke. And that's what people don't understand. Like, you out here playing yourself. You're not playing the game. And that's the difference between winners and losers. You either are playing the game or you're playing yourself. And a lot of people don't want to play the game. They want to pretend to play. And that's why they ultimately lose. Something to think about. At the end of the day, we all get what we want, right? So if we're not doing what we need to be doing to find our success, then we're going to be doomed to suffer the consequences of our actions, right? And if you think you can escape that because you can point your finger at somebody else, you're not making it. You're not even built for it. So it don't even matter, right? In reality. And it's things like that. Everybody wants to look at hex charts and all these charts, but for what? You don't even understand why you're here. You don't understand the reality of long-term generational wealth building, right? And how the T-share rate is there to sustain the value of the system by maintaining its scarcity through time, right? That's literally what T-shares do. They monetize time. The longer people stake, the higher the value of that T-share rate will go because people are using the system as intended, which is to generate more hex so that they can generate wealth for themselves. It's a system that allows you to generate wealth for yourself based on your time conditions. And the notion of a T-share being a utilitarian tool, right? Like that's lost on a lot of people because they're too busy pretending to think that they can game the system in dollar terms, not understanding what's going on under the hood. You can't game the system. The system is pricing you out systematically with crypto. So you got to come with enough dollars to cover the ground you lost in crypto terms. And people pretend to understand that, but they don't. That's why you don't even hear them talking about it because they can't explain anything when you ask them questions about it. You know, very important things to understand is when you're being fed a load of bullshit. And that happens a lot in crypto, a whole lot. And it's sad because, we need better. Crypto is the reason that people can ultimately discover any kind of financial freedom. Because to find it in legacy markets, there's so many traps out there. So many, so many, so many, so many, so many, so many, so many. And it's hard as a noob to accept that because, all these traps are there to entice you to think that you can do what you cannot. You cannot do things that are not for you to do. And a lot of people have a hard time accepting that. So they end up putting themselves in these crazy positions, not understanding. And sorry for the background noise, just doing my thing here. Not understanding that there's a lot more to it than you just wanting to get rich. Because you just want to get rich, anybody can do that anywhere, anytime. You don't need to come here. Here requires a whole different mindset. And people don't want to accept that. They really want to be living this life of lies. And I mean, in crypto is so prevalent that monkey see, monkey do, yada yada. And people have a hard time even accepting that. But that's literally what we see. We can't escape that whatsoever. Because the world, it doesn't care. Like it just doesn't. So because the world doesn't care, the market, it doesn't have to. It has to only like tie in with what's real. And people don't have a clue. That's why they're out here buying shit coins. Straight up. that's what they're doing. They're out here buying shit coins, thinking they're doing somebody a favor. You're not doing nobody no favors, bro. Sorry. You're just not. You can think and pretend you are, but nobody cares. And at the end of the day, you're just gonna become a symptom of the problem. You're never gonna find any freedom. So have fun playing yourself because nobody gives a fuck. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. You really don't gotta like it. But the facts are here to be shared. They're not here to, nobody's here to massage your little fucking ego. In fact, I'm literally here trying to crush your ego. Like, that's my mission. I'm here to crush egos. Because dudes be out here lying on the internet like nobody gives a fuck about your lives. Sorry. Nobody cares. Definitely not me. So, do yourself the favor. Find the information that's going to set you free. Don't find the information that's full of lies. Do yourself the honest to God fucking favor and help yourself. Stop pretending. It's not helping nobody but your damn ego. And guess what? Egos, they don't lead to anything. Don't matter what you want to think. That's just a fact. Ego precludes experience. That's another fact. So the more you want to sit here and pretend, the more everybody gets to sit here and laugh. Because people that know, they get to sit back and laugh. Literally doesn't matter what you want to think or believe. Markets always know, and markets always flesh out the fake. Nobody even ultimately has to call out the fake. The market will do it. But it's always fun to watch pussy squirm. That's a fact. Why else would people be crying about their little egos? Nobody cares, yo. Nobody cares. And that's why you got to be crying on the internet, because you got to get somebody to give a fuck. But nope. Nobody does. Now, be sure to sell all the RH coins and leave it to those of us that understand what's going on and are more than happy to be here scooping them up. Because again, nobody cares. Peace. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the secret. The God well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. These motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Like yeah.
I appreciate
Trust
that.
us. 100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. I mean, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all deep. Everybody. My God. Ex-Asians, bro. Everybody. Australians, man. Everybody gets me. Yo, when people told you.